Russia is paying an enormous price for every meter it takes in Ukraine, and 2026 could make that cost unbearable. As Moscow prepares new offensives, Ukraine is preparing something far more dangerous: a shift from survival to initiative. With Russia weakened, short on manpower, and bleeding economically, Kiev believes the moment is right to strike back hard. The question isn't if Ukraine will attack, it's how devastating the consequences will be. For nearly 3 years, the war in Ukraine has evolved from a lightning invasion into a grinding conflict of attrition. What began in February 2022 as a bold attempt by Moscow to decapitate the Ukrainian state has turned into one of the most costly military campaigns in modern history. Hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers have been killed or wounded. Entire armored brigades have been wiped out. Once feared elite units are now shadows of their former selves. Yet despite these losses, Russia continues to push forward, meter by meter, town by town, village by village, at staggering cost. Every advance requires massive artillery barrages, human wave assaults, and the sacrifice of thousands of troops. What Russia gains in territory, it loses in blood, equipment, and long-term strategic strength. But Ukraine is no longer fighting merely to survive. Ukraine is preparing to seize the initiative. For the first time since the full-scale invasion began, Ukrainian military planners are openly discussing not just defense, but decisive offense. Not just holding the line, but breaking it. This shift represents one of the most dangerous moments of the war so far. Not because Ukraine is desperate, but because Ukraine is increasingly confident. Confident in its military, confident in its Western support, confident in Russia's exhaustion, and most importantly, confident that time is no longer on Moscow's side. To understand why 2026 could be the year that changes everything, we must examine 4 interconnected realities: Russia's manpower crisis, its economic bleeding, Ukraine's evolving military doctrine, and the strategic miscalculations that continue to haunt the Kremlin. Let's begin with manpower. Russia is running out of soldiers, not just in numbers, but in quality. Since 2022, Russia has mobilized hundreds of thousands of men through conscription, partial mobilizations, prisoner recruitment, and covert drafting efforts. But these recruits are not the highly trained professional soldiers that once formed the backbone of Russia's military. They are often older, poorly trained, poorly equipped, and poorly motivated. The early waves of Russia's invasion relied on elite airborne units, Marine brigades, and contract soldiers. These units suffered catastrophic losses during failed assaults on Kiev, Kharkiv, and later in Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and the Donbas. Entire battalions were destroyed. Veteran officers were killed. Command structures were shattered. To replace these losses, Moscow turned to mass mobilization. But quantity cannot replace quality. New recruits often receive just weeks, sometimes days, of training before being sent to the front. Many arrive without proper body armor, medical supplies, or even functional weapons. Casualty rates are staggering. Morale is low, discipline by large numbers of troops. But the cost of sustaining those numbers is growing exponentially. Each new mobilization is more politically dangerous than the last. Each recruitment drive draws deeper into Russia's workforce, weakening its economy. Each loss at the front sends shockwaves back home. And unlike Ukraine, Russia has no meaningful rotation system. Soldiers are often sent to the front indefinitely, with no clear end date. Fatigue, trauma, and resentment are mounting, not just among troops but among their families. Meanwhile, Ukraine's manpower situation, while also strained, is fundamentally different. Ukraine is fighting a war of national survival. Its soldiers are defending their homes, families, and future. This gives Ukraine a moral and motivational advantage that Russia cannot replicate. Training standards, while uneven, are improving. Ukrainian Western partners have expanded training programs in Europe and beyond, producing more skilled, more adaptable units. Ukraine is not immune to manpower challenges, and far from it. But its military culture, command structure, and morale remain stronger than Russia's. And that difference is beginning to matter more with each passing month. Next, let's examine the economic battlefield. Russia is bleeding economically, slowly, steadily, and dangerously. On the surface, Russia's economy appears resilient. Oil and gas revenues continue to flow. The ruble, while volatile, has not collapsed. Domestic production has ramped up in key sectors to be continue.